Good morning. It was a pleasure to be invited to speak at this particular event. It's the first time for my attendance, although I've had my team here for years. I wanted to chat very briefly about SpaceX. By the way, just to clarify, I'm President and Chief Operating Officer. I have a boss who is the CEO. So I wanted to chat very briefly about SpaceX, what we're doing now, chat very briefly about the market and the industry, and then really try to talk about some future things to look forward to. I'm going to start off with a video so you get a good sense of what SpaceX is all about. So what you saw in that video was our most recent mission to the International Space Station. So Dragon is the capsule that or the spaceship, Elon likes to refer to it, the spaceship that carries cargo here from Earth up to the International Space Station and back, returning critical science as well as other things from space. Falcon 9 is the launch vehicle that flies Dragon, and I'll chat a little bit more about both those systems as we go on. We've been very pleased to have executed 3 missions to the International Space Station in the last 10 months and look forward to lots of additional activity there. So to get a sense of what SpaceX is all about, we're a space transportation services provider. One of the reasons why I was really thrilled to be asked to come chat at this panel or this discussion this morning is because of the uniqueness of the market in this area. CASBA represents a tremendous market for launch vehicles as well as satellites. There's 76. Actually, there's a number of different organizations that count a different number of satellites. I took the average at 76 satellites in the region. Tremendous. In addition, CASBA represents the market sector that has the most growth projected, at least in the fixed satellite services, over the next decade. So you're an important market and a critical group of folks. So it's a pleasure to be here. So what has SpaceX done? What we're trying to do? We're definitely trying to revolutionize access to space. We have focused from the beginning on reliability, although fortunately or unfortunately, we're most known for low cost. We are trying to change, like I say, revolutionize access to space. Our goal is to fly often, not to make a ton of money on a few launches, but to make a good amount of money on tons of launches. We're really trying to expand the market. I'll talk a little bit about some of the technologies necessary to do that in a bit. So SpaceX is a private company. We were founded in 2002, again, with a singular goal of providing highly reliable, low-cost access to space. My founders focused primarily technologies to take humans into space. Many think that in this industry that's irrelevant to this particular group, and I argue otherwise. Humans only go on space transportation systems that have demonstrated incredible reliability, so why wouldn't the satellite and services sector benefit from that particular focus? So we were founded in 2002. We have about 3,100 organic employees right now, 3,500 including our full-time contractors, so we've had tremendous growth over the last 11 years. It's been really an extraordinary journey getting here. We have over 1 million square feet of factory in the Los Angeles area. I do invite you to come visit the rocket factory if you're near Los Angeles Airport. We're about 5 miles east of there. What you'll see is metal blocks and metal sheets coming into the factory and rocket stages and engines leaving. It's a fascinating place, and I do invite you to come. We have launch sites at Cape Canaveral. That's where we've launched Falcon 9 thus far. And we are just opening up our launch site at Vandenberg Air Force Base to be able to service the entire market. That should be later this summer. Our propulsion and structural test facility is in Central Texas. That's also a very interesting place. We fire rocket engines every day there, so it's like a launch every day. It's in a little more of a remote place. It's halfway between Dallas and Austin. Harder to get to. We are looking at a commercial launch site. Given the robust manifest that we have, we're definitely going to need more launch sites than we currently have. Talk a little bit about the business. I've already talked about you're not supposed to say explosive growth in this industry, but I'll say it nonetheless. Hopefully not jinxing myself. But we've grown tremendously. We've put $5 billion worth of business on the manifest. We have over 50 missions to execute. Our largest customer is NASA with this servicing contract for the International Space Station, although we've sold and plan to execute far more commercial space launches, which is really exciting for us. We've made tremendous strides in marketing to this particular region with AsiaSat, Asia Broadcast Satellite, NSPO, and TICOM. Other customers include other regional operators from Israel, Mexico, United States, Canadian governments, in Argentina as well, and then SES, Intelsat, and some of the other telecommunications constellations, Orbcomm and Iridium. We have an open pricing policy. We do put our prices on our manifest. Our competitors don't like that, but we'll continue to do it. I think pricing transparency is really important to drive change in the industry, which is one of the things we're trying to do. Product line, we're flying Falcon 9 with the Dragon capsule currently. This summer we will roll out the upgraded Falcon 9. It's about 50% more cargo capability and the fairing for the first time on this class of vehicle. So that mission, the first mission will occur from Vandenberg very late this summer, and then the first GTO mission will follow that up very closely thereafter. Falcon Heavy, I'll talk a little bit in the future. I tell my engineering teams, come on, it can't be that hard. It's just 3 Falcon 9s glued together. Let's move it. But obviously it's a little more complicated than that. And then we're also flying the Dragon capsule, both to the International Space Station. It also serves as a nice scientific platform as a free flyer. Let's talk a little bit about flight history. I hope by this time next year I won't be able to fit all these missions, successful missions on this particular chart, so hopefully I'll be stopping that. But we have flown Falcon 9 successfully 5 times, 3 of which went to the International Space Station. Critically, the second flight that we had of Falcon 9 in December of 2010 took the Dragon capsule to orbit. It orbited 2.5 times and came back to Earth, and we became the first private company to do that. It was really an exciting time. As I mentioned, we've flown Dragon 4 times, 3 times to the International Space Station. The Dragon capsule is critical for business on station because it not only takes science and cargo up, but it's the only vehicle that can take substantial cargo back and science back. A few of the other vehicles can take kind of refuse back from the ISS, of which there's plenty, but Dragon takes the science back, which is why we have the ISS up there in the first place. So hopefully we'll see more capsules and more capability that can handle that particular mission. So what else are we working on besides getting the upgraded Falcon to orbit, carrying out cargo missions every 3 months, and hopefully, in the near term, taking geostationary transfer satellites to their mission orbit? We do want to turn the Dragon capsule into a crew-rated capsule. Right now, only 2 countries can take astronauts into space, and I think that's a shame. I think we need to see more, Russia and China. The U.S. lost that ability when we retired the shuttle in 2011. So hopefully we'll see more organizations coming forward and taking astronauts to space. I think it's a critically important function for us as humans, actually. So we've got an ascent test and an abort test in early 14, and hopefully we'll be flying demonstration flights in early 15 with crew. That'll be an exciting time. Then everybody that wants to go to space, that can afford to go to space, should be able to go to space. Grasshopper, really important topic. What I said earlier, we're trying to really change the way this industry operates. One of the most important elements of that, we feel, is reusability. I know it scares a lot of customers early on, but we're going to get this right and we're going to make it work. If you think about the airline industry, if you only flew a 747 jet once, we wouldn't be flying 747s. So we're really trying to turn that upside down in this industry and be able to fly our rocket stages more than once. So we're working on this technology, this reusable technology. The starter vehicle we call Grasshopper. What we're doing is we're doing hops at our facility in Central Texas. I'm telling you, that's a really cool place to go visit. And I'm going to show a video, actually, that shows you what we're trying to do here. It's going to be side by side. One is a kind of a far out look at at Grasshopper, and the other one is actually on board the Grasshopper test vehicle. We have a cowboy mannequin there named Sonny. We've got a little camera attached to his head. Sonny's on the right. So if you were standing next to Sunny, that would have been a really fun ride, and you would have done just fine. That was a 250-meter hop. Oh, great. Yes, I love that video, too. That was a 250-meter hop. We just jumped 350 meters this past Friday, and we'll continue to add altitude to those tests till we're actually going transonic. We're not going to be able to execute those tests in Central Texas. However, we're going to have to move to a more remote location. So we'll be moving the Grasshopper capability to New Mexico. And so what we're trying to do really is get almost an entire first stage burn and bring that stage back. What we'd love to do, I'm so excited to sell the operators here a launch vehicle where really the only cost associated with that vehicle, the non-recurring, the initial investment in the stages themselves, but the cost of fuel and the mission operations. So if we get this right, and we're trying really hard to get this right, we're looking at launches to be in the $5 to $7 million range, which would really change things dramatically. So the folks that are licensing this technology, the Federal Aviation Administration, are very supportive of SpaceX and what we're trying to do. This scares them a little bit. Michael Huerta, head of the FAA, when he found out publicly that we were doing this, he said, "They want to do what?" So we're keeping them on their toes. I talked very briefly about Falcon Heavy, but from a commercial perspective, Falcon Heavy is it's an oversized vehicle. It's got more capacity than folks in this room need, unless we want to put two of the biggest satellites on this vehicle and fly them both to GTO. That would yield a pretty respectable price for folks. But what we're really trying to do is push the bounds of technology with respect to size of launch vehicles and see if we can't start putting some really interesting things into the solar system and hopefully land some things on Mars as well. This will be the largest vehicle flying since the Saturn moon rockets. We're sandbagging the GTO numbers. Actually, analytically, it looks like we're going to take 19 tons of GTO, but we're being conservative at the 12 metric tons. And this will be, hopefully, a vehicle that takes many things to Mars. So what else? I look forward very much to the questions that you have. Hopefully they're provocative. It makes it much more fun. And I believe I'm supposed to take Q&A now.
Stage management a little bit awkward there, but at any rate. We will be taking questions from the floor. If you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you at some point. But I'm going to take the privilege of the first couple of questions. I just have to say that when I was 10 years old, I was given as a birthday present an Estes rocket. Is everyone familiar with Estes rockets? The little paint them yourself, glue them together, stick the engine in, push the button and watch it go up in the air and then come back down. As long as it didn't hit a tree or break on landing or whatever, you could stick an engine in and send it back up again. So I think it's great to see a really big Estes rocket. And I've watched that clip on YouTube, and I think it's amazing. So go into more about the idea behind reusability. It seems like a logical one. But the difficulty in actually achieving that is pretty significant.
Yeah, there's no question this is a really hard thing to achieve. If it weren't, then I think others would have done it before now. We're getting very comfortable with re-entry with the Dragon capsule, but the Dragon capsule has a shape that is stable on re-entry from orbit, whereas rocket stages traditionally are not stable on re-entry. So there's a lot of software involved, there's a lot of guidance, navigation, and control involved, and then there's a lot of thermal protection required. So we have to make advances in all those areas. We also have to be able to restart these engines supersonically, which is going to be a fun challenge. I'm pretty sure we're going to see some really great unsuccessful flights on video. But, if we only experience success in these tests, then we're not pushing hard enough and fast enough. This is hard business. We should see some failures on the test vehicles.
The test vehicle, on the drawing board. Let's talk about growth and development, because this is something you're going from essentially a standing start. Now, if I'm right, you were a very early employee, number 7, is that the right number?
That's correct, yeah.
And you mentioned with contractors you're up to 3,500 employees.
Yes.
I mean, that's a very substantial growth in an operation sense over the space of 12 years. How has that been managed, and what are the challenges that presents? I mean, I think everyone can understand it's challenging, but where specifically?
I think the area, in managing that kind of growth, I think the areas, there's two primary areas. You need leadership that works with a group of 50 to 200 people is very different from leadership that works in a company of 3,500 people. So you really need to be comfortable in moving your leadership team around as necessary to manage that growth. In addition, communications has clearly been pointed out as being key. And by the way, I'm not saying we did it all right. As a matter of fact, when we're flying successfully every couple of weeks, I want to take a little break and study the growth that we've had and what could we have done to do things better. But the area that points out most strongly is communication. We still don't know how to communicate throughout an organization of 3,500 people.
The other thing that comes to mind, of course, is Elon Musk is the founder, the visionary behind it. He's got his fingers in a few other pies. I mean, I think that having someone who sets out a vision like that to go from PayPal to rocket science is a big leap and a very visionary thing. After a certain point, how important is it to have that input and that visionary leadership carry on, or do you have to replace that?
I've gotten asked that question many times, actually. I think...
So it's not original, but...
Well, I apologize. I didn't mean that.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Everyone was thinking it, though, so it's okay.
So what's really key and what keeps SpaceX as a kind of a vibrant company, for those of you that have visited, it's got a really great buzz to it. People are really excited about what they're doing and what they're working on. And I think when you stop innovating and you stop working on visionary things, that's when you kind of contract. You probably get really good at doing what you're doing, but I think you probably become a little bit lethargic. It's the new entrants that come and really shake things up. And I think it's important for Elon to continue laying out really audacious goals.
I think you've touched on something that also comes to mind. I mean, as an innovative company, as a game-changing company, which is how you're setting yourself out to be. There comes to mind, I'm a big fan of The Clash, a punk band from the 70s and 80s.
Yes, I was alive.
I'm just making sure. Check your references. But one of the lines was, you grow up and you calm down. The idea that today's radicals are tomorrow's moderates. Revolutionaries of today become the establishment of later. I mean, you've got 40% of the mix is government business right now. Obviously, that's important to make a foundation and a stable income stream. But to a certain extent, that's also kind of leads you more to the mainstream than away from it. There's a question in there somewhere.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I'll just start chatting about it. In our partnership with NASA, by the way, the Falcon 9 and the Dragon capsule was developed in partnership with NASA. NASA paid just under $400 million for that, and we SpaceX spent about $450 million. NASA learned a lot in working with us, and we learned a lot from NASA in that partnership. So there are lots of really great things you can glean from working with kind of the staid customers. And I think they benefit dramatically as well by working with new entrants who do things very differently. I don't think SpaceX, unless Elon gets hit by a bus, which really would be awful, I don't see SpaceX becoming the moderate. It's very contrary to what he is about and what he really wants SpaceX to be. So I don't think that'll happen.
I'm obviously, this is a satellite industry conference, but I love the idea of manned space exploration, and I think, again, coming back to the 10-year-old boy with an Estes rocket, I think there's a lot of other people in this room who are in this business because of the sort of romance and the excitement of that. How realistic of a goal is that for a private operator to, I mean, obviously you think it's realistic, but...
Oh, there's no question. I have no question that we can fly people in the Dragon capsule right now. That one... Getting people to Mars is much harder. Getting Grasshopper to work is going to be much harder. But, when we started this job in the Dragon capsule carrying cargo, it was pretty nerve-wracking. We were a very young company. We got that effort with NASA in 2006. And we were, I don't want to say scared to death, but, we were pretty anxious about that activity. And, you know, we've got such a brilliant team of engineers that work really hard. We get through all the technical challenges, not as quickly as we'd like to, but we always get through these technical challenges. So I don't see human spaceflight as an impossibility or even a high risk for us at all. I think there's other projects that are going to be harder. Yeah. I'm not saying that we're not focused very hard on it. And I hope this particular audience in this industry sees that SpaceX and other competitors of ours flying crew can only make your missions more successful.
I'll turn now to the audience. If anyone has a question, please raise your hand. I think we've got microphones available. 2 in the front row, if we can find. There we go.
Good morning, Jim. My name is Ace. My question is, do you think that space travel will be as common as traveling overseas in the future, as well as will it be as affordable? Thank you. Because now I believe that now, if anyone wants to travel to space, it can cost you a lot. Thank you.
That's a very good question. So the question is, will space travel be as ubiquitous as air travel? Yes? I don't think it will be as ubiquitous. I would love to say it is, but the cost, I don't believe the cost will ever get quite as affordable as air travel. And hopefully I'm not going to get fired from Elon for saying this, but it will increase, you know, thousandfold. SpaceX is looking at, well, right now a cost to get to the International Space Station, so low Earth orbit, is $67 million per seat. And we'd like to see space travel. We'd like to see folks being able to get to Mars for a couple of $100,000, maybe $500,000.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Another question here.
It doesn't strike me as doing anything different other than discounting the price, really. You've got a rocket, a conventional rocket, and you're sending a conventional rocket up. Correct. I mean, and it seems to me that that's the case. What are you doing that's really different? I mean, how do you put the price down, number one? Is it just you get a great discount on fuel, or is it really doing something different? Because the rocket that you've got going up, as impressive as everything is, and I'm sure it is very impressive technically, it looks just like every other rocket I've ever seen. So it's not doing anything significantly different. What could you have, or what could you do which is significantly different?
Well, in some respects, you're quite right. This rocket looks very much like any other liquid-fueled rocket that's flying. And the key to the innovations that we have, that, you know, there's thousands of innovations on the Falcon 9 launch vehicle that allows us to sell it for a pretty discounted price compared to our competitors internationally, and a dramatically discounted price compared to our domestic competitors in United Launch Alliance. We've looked at this vehicle and this company as an industry, or as a company that needs to be profitable. It needs to sustain itself. And we've looked at the vehicle, both the design and, importantly, the operations. And if you think about all the things that go into launching a successful mission, and you work on every bit of that, you don't just work on a valve here, or you don't work on a piece of structure there, but you think about the facilities that are involved, so it's those kinds of innovations. Let me just give you a couple of quick examples. So the vehicles in the United States, at least, use a mobile service tower, which is a high-rise office building where you build the launch vehicle that's right on top of the launch deck. By the way, it has to roll back for launch. So there's nothing inexpensive about this mobile service tower. It's a high-rise office building on wheels. It needs to get out of the way before you fly by. We use a horizontal approach, which the Russians use as well, by the way. So we're not particularly innovative there. But it's pulling all of those kinds of pieces together that allow us to fly Falcon 9 for a nice price reduction in the industry. But the real key to changing things dramatically is this concept of reusability. That's when you go from selling or flying a $60 million mission to flying a $5, $6, or $7 million mission. That's really where the change is. But you have to have the business to start. I don't know if I answered your question. I gave it a shot.
Do we have other questions? We've got a couple of minutes left. We can take probably one more question if someone would like to raise their hand. Sorry. Unclear.
I can't see.
Oh, there we go.
Hello.
Now, Richard, be nice. Be nice.
Tell me, all these flights into space, where does everyone go? This is usually mass migration, trying to go back to see their family. Personally, I don't know if you can before Mars. Where's everybody going to be going?
Actually, I think that's a great question. I was expecting something dramatically different from you, but but I appreciate the lob. Not everybody believes that humans need to leave Earth. Not everybody believes humans need to go study science in low Earth orbit on the International Space Station. I personally believe that it's critically important for us to do that, and I am surrounded by people at SpaceX and others who believe that it's critically important. From my perspective, it's twofold. We're engineers and scientists, right? And we deal in risk. And it seems that for the human race to survive solely on one planet, you're operating in a high-risk environment. Now, we may have billions of years before something dramatically bad happens to planet Earth, but to just have it be the case that this is the only place we can survive seems a little bit sad from my perspective. I also feel that what separates humans from animals is our innate desire to learn about our world and explore. And I think it really doesn't bode well for the future to say that, we're here, we're staying here, and this is the last place to explore. I think that's just unfortunate. So one, I think we need to find another place to live as a backdoor or risk management piece to the survival of the human race. And two, just being human, I think, kind of says you got to go find things out.
We're pretty much out of time, but if there's another question, we're happy to take it if you can get your hand up and I can see it.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
The lights are rather bright. I don't see anyone jumping up and down, so...
No, it says time is up.
Okay, and it says time is up, so I think we've done perfectly.
Great.
Please join me in thanking Gwynne Shotwell from SpaceX.
Thank you. Thanks very much.